Hello, my name is David Atwell, and I'm here to talk to you about in-service training. The purpose of this presentation is so that you guys at Westridge Pool will better understand what in-service training really is, and I hope that my outcome of this is that we can talk about implementing it at actually your pool and how that can happen. So my agenda for this presentation is, first of all, I'm just going to talk about an overview of in-services, and then I'm going to go into 5 components that make in-services effective, and then I'm going to go over my recommendation, and then I'll end with a conclusion. If anyone has any questions afterwards, please feel free to ask. So first of all, kind of my background, I've been lifeguarding since I was 15 years old. I came into it very excited to wear my red pants, the red swimsuit, and twirl the whistle around and be like my older siblings. But when I actually became a lifeguard, I realized there was a lot more responsibility and there was a lot more to that. And it wasn't until we started doing in-service training that I really understood my responsibility as a lifeguard. There's a lot of information that I had to learn, and it was kind of an overload of information. But these in-services gave me an opportunity to consistently practice and relearn my skills, so I became more confident about my job. I'm going to talk to you about 5 components that really make in-services effective, because they can go wrong or right. The first component is mandatory attendance. In-service training should be mandatory for every guard that is on staff. And that is because you're going to have guards that are very experienced and guards that are very inexperienced, and it's very important that they're all on the same page because any of them could be present at an emergency, so you want to make sure all of them are ready for an emergency. So to do mandatory attendance, I think there should be some type of consequences for people who don't make it. At UNO, for instance, which is the pool I'm currently at, if somebody misses an in-service, they have to make it up with a head guard one-on-one, and they have to initiate that meeting, and they go over everything that they've missed, and there is a consequence if there's a continuation of people missing the in-service, and it could end in people's termination. That's how important in-service training really is. Second component of making it effective is implementing all forms of learning. It's very easy to implement visual, audio, and kinetic learning, which are the 3 ways that people can really effectively retain information. The first one, visual learning, is easy. Red Cross provides DVDs for anyone who has taken their course, which should be most of the people at Westridge Pool, if not all of them. And using these videos for in-service training can be very effective because a lot of times they give visual representation of exactly what guards need to do. So a guard who is a visual learner can watch that and then very quickly understand what they need to do. Audio is something that you can easily implement by explaining beforehand exactly how the save is done in your words. And then kinetic learners is just running over the scenario over and over, and it's going to be what is the main form of teaching because it's very important that guards are given room to just go over it and actually physically do it with their bodies. The third component of creating effective in-service training is allowing guards to ask questions. Like I said previously, there's an information overload for lifeguards. For example, when you're doing compressions in CPR, you have to make sure for an adult that your compressions are at least 2 inches. For children, it has to be about 2 inches. And for infants, it needs to be over 1.5 inches. These are all very specific in their semantics and the numbering, and it's a lot for guards to learn and to understand. And because of that, guards will have many questions. I assume that all lifeguards will have questions, and so that's why I think it's best as a manager to really encourage that questions be asked, to not look down upon them, not answer them condescendingly, but creating a culture of asking questions is really going to have lifeguards be more confident about their learning. Component number 4 of creating an effective in-service is having uplifting feedback from your managers. There's really 2 management styles that I really see often, and that's reluctant managers and that's also overly corrective managers. Reluctant managers are those who watch over their in-service and see guards who have errors in their rescuing, but they don't really do anything about it and they kind of leave it there. And guards will continue to make these mistakes and will make the mistakes when they're responding to emergencies too. And that could be very negative and could cause the rescue to be ineffective. And that's very serious. Another management style though is overly corrective managers, and those are the managers that kind of are overly critical about everything that a guard does, and that's not good either because that causes guards to be timid or afraid to actually even go out there and try. And a lot of times if you know a bunch of things that you're doing wrong, it's hard to correct them all. So allowing space for lifeguards to learn on their own while also giving them good kind of feedback when they need to or correction when they need to is the best way to have a smart balance between these two. The fifth component is cultivating an excellence-oriented work environment. In-services are great, and probably the best thing about in-services is that they really set the standard for the culture of your work environment. And sometimes lifeguard information can be kind of boring and dull and, like I said, tedious. So because of that, in-services can make it fun, can make it competitive, and make it really just entertaining to learn this stuff. And one way you can do that is having fun competitions for the teaching. And that could be done through, let's say, for example, backboarding, which is the response you do to a head, neck, and back injury in the water. Having backboarding competitions where you time it and see who does the best, and writing down who does the best, and having some type of reward or prize for that could just make it really fun, and really brings people together too, and creates friendships among a group too, and that's really what's important about in-services. So my recommendation is that you guys at Westridge Pool implement bi-weekly, so once every 2 weeks, bi-weekly in-service meetings that are 2 hours long and mandatory to attend. This is kind of an example of an agenda for that. It would be 20 minutes of an introduction and announcements, whatever the manager wants to announce. 20 minutes of going over the topic you're going to cover, allowing guards to ask questions about the topic before you go ahead and do it in the water, in-water workshop for half an hour, going through the skills, 30 minutes of going over a scenario made up by the manager to kind of give an in real life feel and allow guards to pretend like they're in the actual emergency. And then 20 minutes of a fun competition at the end to just wrap things up. And I think that is one of an example of how an effective agenda could be, or effective in-service could be run. So in conclusion, in-services can really revolutionize the culture of your pool. It'll give guards more confidence in what they're learning and their job and their responsibility. And when guards have confidence, I guarantee they will enjoy their job a lot more. And when your workers enjoy their job, so will patrons who come to the pool, and it'll really just all around change the culture of Westridge Pool. So if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you very much.